We're going to die.
You're not going to die. Captain's orders.
Andromeda, ready set maximum PSL. On my mark. I want you to fire everything we've got. Missiles, drones, AP guns, lasers, everything.
Back in conventional weapons ready to dent that thing.
You have your orders. And mark.
Ready?
What's that?
Starter's gun. Go! You're bleeding.
The word you're looking for is dead.
We've gotten their attention. Swarm ships are deploying. They're trying to intercept our missiles.
Good. That'll keep him busy. Now, Andromeda, I want you to vent your atmosphere, dump your water tanks, and toss every piece of crap you've got in the cargo holds out the hatches.
You're trying to confuse them? That's one little bomb in the crowd. Venting, dumping, and tossing, Captain.
They're firing these black hole things at us.
Good for them. Andromeda, ready the Nova Bomb. And fire!
Nova bomb is away.
Impact in 10, 9,
Red, what are you doing? Mine
7, 6,
is red flag,
4, 3,
and I do what I must.
1. Impact!
I'm so sorry.
So that's a short clip from the first episode in the second series of Andromeda. So just a little overview. It's a sci-fi series, quite obviously, and it was originally created by Gene Roddenberry, although he never actually made the series. It was produced after he died by his wife, and she made another. She used quite a few of his ideas in sci-fi shows as well. So the Andromeda shows several of his different ideals. Like he's also made Star Trek and the planet's Commonwealth, which is like it's supposed to say, is very like the Federation of Star Trek, and it's about a utopian society that promotes peace. But unlike Star Trek, it's very more action orientated. The planet's Commonwealth falls, and it's like trying to get it back again. So just a little overview of the characters, and just say where they are, because that's quite important. Andromeda is quite confusing, because Andromeda is the name of the ship, and the AI is on the ship as a hologram, and on the planet as an android. So that's a bit confusing. So the three general types of shot type. There's a wide shot, a mid shot, and close-ups. So generally, any video you ever see is going to have one or all of them in, and a close-up is mostly used to with facial expressions to show the emotions that characters are feeling. This is usually showing as their expressions, and in close-ups, characters usually have intense emotion on their faces, and it also helps us empathise with the characters. A wide shot shows an entire area of a film. So it's in the Cajun film, it's we've got establishing shots of valleys, and even a mid shot kind of shows the full body of the character, and usually with some background as well. So let's actually talk about the clip. So whilst it's arguable that maybe that one of the planet, the world trip, isn't actually a long shot. If you think about it, that's 20 planets in a range in a solar system, essentially. So it is quite wide, and most of the action that's based on the planets is down here, so it's showing that. Also, when the nova bomb hits the star and it goes supernova, and they jump off, I think this is a really good shot when they jump down, because you can see this massive hole and they're jumping down and fire erupting everywhere. So there's quite a lot of mid shots, but the ones I picked out were in command, because Andromeda is at this point talking, so she's like the most in focus. But in this, it's kind of a volleying conversation between Becca and Andromeda. So Becca is clear as well, and also it's like a mid shot when they're having the battle. They're just shooting and not really getting very far, because there's like trillions of Mogog on this film. So there's a lot of close-ups as well. I think close-ups are the shot type they use most actually. But when the two Mogog come up to the guys who are like tied to the wall, one of them is supposed to be one of Andromeda's crew, and Harper, who's the man there, is like, he's got a very confused expression because he's being betrayed essentially. Another thing I like about the jump, I think the jump is like done really well in this, and they focus in on both Andromeda a bit, but more Dylan's facial expressions as they go down. And it's like we're jumping to escape this explosion, but we're falling down like this impossibly deep hole. At the end of it, we go back to Andromeda with the ship, and here they think they've just killed like all their friends down on the planet. So it's like very somber, it's quite a sorrowful and mournful expression. So the use of sound effects. So what I like is there's like that nice shot of there's like just hundreds of Mogog and just this massive explosion behind them, and that they have like this horrible kind of squeal thing, and it just like adds to the thing that they're like revolting, that they're not like very nice creatures. When they launch the bomb, it's like a 10-second countdown, but only, I think it's 10, 9, 8 actually in that scene, and there's like a voiceover over onto the other scenes as they like prepare to be hit by the twin. And also, there's very briefly, it's only like 2 seconds, is a scene that shows some of the Mogog ships moving in to attack them, and that they make these like not very pleasant noises as well, and they're very similar to what Mogog sound like. So, the music used, Dylan and Romy, I'll use Romy because I think that's what they call the android, when they're down on the planet, and this is the very first scene, and it's like, we're going to die. If we're going to die, what? Then it's like, we're not going to die. But it's like very, very sad, somber music. It's like, it kind of puts this sense, it's like, this is only the second season, and there's 3 more to come. But it kind of puts that feeling in you that there's a chance that they might die. And the music kind of gets, the tension increases slowly all the way through the clip until they fire the bomb. When it gets incredibly, like, just tension, just like, because I had to watch it a few times to pick this up, but it does happen. And there's just a sudden increase of tension. But when the bomb actually hits the star, the music kind of fades away, and we're just left with this screaming and the explosions in the background. Obviously there's like bits of Foley here, but in sci-fi, obviously, because there's no like warships in real life, all of that's going to be like some sort of Foley. And but also when they're running through the corridors, I suppose there's some points because there's explosions as well with weapons fire. That's all going to be done by Foley. So the shot composition. So the rule of thirds is used like quite a lot, and so if you look at the first one, if you come down where Andromeda's standing, she's on the line, Becca's on the line, and across the top of the heads, that's also like on the rule of thirds line. So you kind of can focus on all 3 at once. Again, this shot where they're just like firing down the hole that they're on the lines, and it's quite a short scene. And but when you see the ship is actually the main bit of the ship is actually on the lines as well. Yeah. So there's not really that much symmetry, but in this shot with Becca here, although she's got tramps to one side, there's like kind of a equal background behind it. And it's, because it's like a ship, it's fairly unnatural. It does have that sense. Again, when it's in the dark cave, when the Gog arrives, there's a bit of symmetry going on in the background as well. There's not really much of a background, it's mostly just blackness. When they actually jump as well, like I say that they're on the rule of third, so there's rule of thirds and symmetry here actually.
Yes.
Because the cave is kind of like similar on both sides, which is unusual for a cave, so kind of it gives this sense of it's odd. And yeah, they're also around, so yeah, eyes are drawn to them. There's not an awful lot of shot balance, I don't think there really needs to be, but during the initial conversation, when most of the screens are black, they do use a quarter of the other actor's head in the background to balance the shot in it. And they use 180 degree rules. This is a nice example here. It's just because looking across and looking across. And so they use effects like when they jump. I'm not sure if I think it's they use a slow shutter speed. But it kind of looks more like that in slow motion, but it's slow and you kind of see their expressions much more clearly as they fall. And when they fall, we don't know what happens to them. Obviously, they survive for White will be 3 more seasons, but we don't know. It could straight back to them on the ship. There isn't a lot of zooming in it, but when they're moving towards the world ship, it starts off a bit further away and it kind of focuses down on the star, and it follows the bomb in. So lighting, this is probably something you've noticed because I've used these 2 shots before. But if you notice in the conversation, like Harper, who's human, who's like supposed to be a goodie, there's like he's very clearly light compared to the Magog, who are like you can't really even make them out from that kind of shot because they're just so dark. It's kind of light versus dark. And CGI, obviously sci-fi, is a big thing. But I'm not going to talk about that. It's just there's the ships and the world ship and the supernova. There's only really 2 bits of dialogue, and that's at the start with the Magog. But when they're like taking a pause from this battle scene on the ground, the audio you can hear it very crisp and clearly. But you can still hear like weapons firing, explosions in the background. And that's the end. Any questions?
Fantastic. It's not a question. It's about the clip. Is it suggesting that the world ship is huge? Is it actually like pretty much solar system?
Yeah.
Because for me, I feel much to correct me, but for me, the way the ship sort of flew next to it, and the way it was filmed in that, and the way it took 10 seconds for this rocket to fire into the middle of it, I didn't get that right. It seemed big, but it didn't seem astronomically big. And do you think there's a way they could show that it's that big?
It's not actually in this clip, but I think it might even be because it's a 2-part episode. This I think in the first part when they first found it, there's like a shot where you've got Andromeda, like it's flying in that direction, and you've got the world ship, and it's like just a tiny speck compared to it.
So is that almost like the continuity area then, the fact that...
But yeah, maybe because compared to the world ship, Andromeda does look quite big in that, so you just, yeah, that might be one thing.
It's just an observation as well, but sometimes you have to cheat. And I mean, I guess I mentioned yesterday that Walter Murch had rules, editing rules. One of his number 1 rules is his defining rule for any cut you make is the emotion of the scene, not the space around it, but the emotion of the scene. And I guess that you could argue that that's why it's okay to cheat sometimes, because I didn't get that sense of scale either. But if we had watched this in sequence and we'd seen the clips that show the scale, that would have been our understanding, and we'd have carried that with us. And as you get more and more caught up in something like this, you forgive these things. Virtually everything has got continuity errors of some kind, even if it's continuity errors of common sense. But we forgive them because we want to go along for the ride. Yeah, any other questions?
Well, one more. So just because, did they essentially commit genocide? Just because they focus on this guy dying that presumably they think is dead when they blew the thing, and they focus on all these very sad shots of the captain. And I was just wondering if there's any shots that sort of, if they did do that, that sort of, because that's quite a heavy thing to shoot.
Well, what actually happens, I think they want to go watch this now, but what actually happens afterwards is, pretty much instantly, is there's like, somehow they managed to, the Magog managed to absorb most of the explosion, and therefore like, there's actually very little damage done to the thing, so they didn't actually kill anyone. But there's this thing, there's like trillions of these aliens on it, and they essentially eat anything that moves. The most of the first part of this episode is the Magog invading the ship and capturing the crew, and you don't really feel much sympathy for them. And this thing's coming to essentially invade the galaxy. So
it's the same idea in the movie Clerks, which is that when Luke Skywalker blows up the Death Star, especially the second Death Star, when it's not finished, is that thing must have been crawling with hundreds of thousands of builders who were essentially just contractors doing the job, and were not necessarily any part of any kind of Sith Empire or anything like that. And they got blown up as well.
Still better than Death Star.
These are tough times, you know. You take the work when it's there, don't you?
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Though, you kind of got to expect it. It's called the Death Star.
Yeah.
they make a decent argument both ways in that film.
Yeah. Really. Thank you very much for that, Nathan. Okay, so.
thank you.